What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 8 in my 13th annual 31 Days of Horror, a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. And continuing along with the reviews here, I decided to do another 2024 movie, and that is The Platform 2 from 2024, obviously, which is a Spanish film, I believe. So this is a sequel to the hit Netflix exclusive The Platform that came out, man, it feels like it was a little while ago now. Was it 2019 maybe? Which seems like, quite a long time for a sequel. Yeah, it was 2019. How about that? So yeah, this is a movie that, The Platform, the first one, is a movie that I really loved, and it made my top 10 of 2019, I guess. And it kind of came out of nowhere for me back then, and The Platform 2 came out of nowhere for me this time too, because I didn't even know this thing was coming. I literally found out like a few days before it was released that it was even a thing. And I was actually really surprised that it was a film that was coming out. Like, I know that the first Platform was a big hit for Netflix, but I just never watched that movie thinking like, oh, this could be a sequel, or there's more story to tell. It felt like a pretty like encompassed story that felt finalized. But I was intrigued to know that there was a new one coming out, and so I decided to check it out. Plus, I just need to get some 2024 watches in. I'm really behind this year, so figure why not check out another one. So, The Platform 2. This is an interesting movie. So, first of all, while I was watching it, I was wondering, like, could this be a prequel? And I'm not going to answer that question, or I'm not telling you if there actually is an answer, but I just, thought it was... before it even got going, I was thinking, that it could be one of those situations where it's a prequel, because I feel like in the first one, the story that could have been told next wouldn't be as interesting as the story that could have been told before. But, that was just my thought process going in. But anyway, this one starts off with a woman and an overweight man who are trapped on... in this prison, basically. It's if you haven't seen the first Platform, the concept is that there are 333 levels. So basically almost just floors of a building or something. And in the center there is almost like an elevator that goes up and down, but it's a platform, and on the platform is food. And it stops on each level, and people get to eat, and then it goes down, people get to eat. There's 2 people on each floor, so, what is that, 666. I didn't think I ever put that together. That's how many people I guess there are. And there is no real, I guess, structure... there's no enforcement by whoever put them in here to what they're doing. So the idea is that if everybody eats their proper amount, basically the food that they requested, then everyone would have enough food. But as you know, if you're more privileged, being at the top of the platform, or what they call the pit, then you get first dibs, which you could technically do whatever you want, and and if more and more people do that, then there's less and less food as it goes down to eventually nothing at the people really low. So that's the concept of the platform, which the first film, it was like this trickle down economics idea that the rich will, or in this case the privileged, would essentially have all the stuff, and the wealth will trickle down to the others. But in reality, the people above would just eat it all, and the people on the bottom couldn't get anything because they didn't have any opportunity to. It was a fantastic concept to a movie. I thought it was super interesting. It reminded me of like Cube or something like that, but with some cool social commentary. But this one is a little bit different. So we get some interviews at the beginning with the different people that and sort of like their favorite meal, because the entire platform is made up of everybody's favorite meals. So there might be like lamb chops or croquets or steak or cake or plums or pizza, and that's what is on the table. In this movie, though, that's different than the first movie is everything was sort of chaotic, and basically the people at the bottom were just like screwed no matter what, and it's that whole story of like how to fix that. Well, this movie, they already have a system in place. So there was someone who came before who sacrificed a lot to basically change the way people operated, and a way to sort of save everybody by sort of like an enforcement type of rules. So like, for example, everybody could only eat their share, what their meal was, or they can trade with and barter with other people, but it has to be a swap. And it's enforced by the people I forget the name, what they called them, but it's enforced by a group of people who take on the responsibility to basically punish or kill people who go against the laws. So they sort of have this archaic system of laws in place, which I thought was really interesting as well. And I was like, okay, this is a nice different take on this concept. Like, how will this play out? How will this work? And so we're introduced to this female character who has a backstory with that you find out throughout the movie. And there's this big, giant, fat guy who is kind of scary looking. And basically they're new. The people are basically trying to explain to him the rules. The guy, the bigger guy, somebody like eats his pizza, which is what he asked for, and he's all upset about it. And they're like, look, don't eat the other people's food, because it's just because somebody screwed you over, you can't screw someone else over, because the whole system comes crumbling down if you do that. So they eventually convince him to not do that, but they also have another rule where if somebody is killed, then their portion gets thrown away, because nobody can have an extra portion, because it would betray the system. Also a pretty cool idea. And then there's like a third act that sort of flips things on its head a little bit. So that's basically the plot. That's kind of where I'll leave off on that. I think the concept is still so cool. And at the beginning of this movie, because I had heard some negative things about it, but I was like, this is actually really interesting. Like, to do it this way, where you have sort of like this dictatorship this time that is sort of creating the rules, creating the laws. It works to an extent, but it doesn't work completely. So that was an interesting concept. The film kind of loses me a little bit in the third act, though, where I just felt like it wasn't that interesting anymore, and it kind of went into places where I wasn't really like super happy. It was alright, but it just like started off so strong that I was a little disappointed by the end. But it still was interesting enough watch, and the characters are pretty interesting in this one, especially like the bigger fat guy. Like, I thought his character was pretty interesting. He reminded me of like Dave Bautista, but he's not. But it just kind of reminded me of it before Bautista lost all that weight. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm curious to see if they do another one, because there is a mid-credits scene. I mean, I don't think they will, but I didn't think they were going to do this one, so I'd be surprised, but who knows. Overall, I mean, I think it's definitely worth watching as a follow-up if you like the first film. If you've never seen the first film, definitely check that out as well. One of the cooler things on Netflix, like exclusives. But yeah, this one, it's not quite as good, but I did think it was still pretty interesting, and I wasn't mad that I watched it. So I'm going to go ahead and give it like, I think I was sitting at like a 6.5, but I am going to bump it up to a 7. I think it's solid enough to get a 7. So with that said, see you guys tomorrow with another review. Peace.